In this video, I want to show you how you could round to a certain number of significant figures. Now, this works in a slightly different way to decimal places. We still look at a certain position in the number and then to the right and determine whether it's 5 or more or less than 5 to do with whether we round up or round down respectively. So we still do that side of it, but it's actually figuring out which position we need to be in for the first, second, third, fourth, etc. significant figure. So what you do is you always work from the left-hand side, ignoring any initial zeros. Okay? So any initial zeros that you hit, okay, you can completely ignore them, and then you get the first value that is not a 0. That's where your first significant figure is. Okay? So I'm going to go through two numbers here, okay, to show you what I mean. So, 394.816. Now, theoretically, there are a load of zeros to the left of the 3. We just don't bother writing them down, okay? So, you're essentially going through all those zeros until you hit the first significant figure, which is the 3. So you can also think of that as the most significant figure, because this is the 300ths column, and the hundredths column is clearly going to be larger and more significant than the tens column, or the units column, or the tenths column, or the hundredths column, or the thousandths column. Okay, so the hundredths column is definitely going to be the most significant. But it's coming from the left-hand side and hitting the first non-zero value. So the 3 is the first significant figure that you reach. Then it's the 9, then it's the 4, then it's the 8, then it's the 1, then it's the 6. Okay? So if I was to round this to one significant figure, you look at the first significant figure position, and then to the right, and that tells you whether you should round up or round down. So here, 9 is 5 or more, so you round this up. So we would round this to 400, to one significant figure, and we abbreviate it as SF. Okay? If we were rounding to two significant figures, then you look for the second significant figure, and then one to the right, that tells you that you should round down. So this is 390 to two significant figures. Now you'll notice in the context of this example, this is the same as asking to the nearest 100 and to the nearest 10. But if this had been a different number, let's say 394,800.816, then it wouldn't be rounding to the nearest 100, rounding to the nearest 10, okay? So always looking at these as the significant figure positions. So if I was rounding this to 3 significant figures, I would look at the third significant figure position. 1 to the right is 5 or more, so I round this up, and it's 395 to 3 significant figures. To 4 significant figures, I look 1 to the right, I would round this down, so it would be 394.8 to 4 significant figures. And I could do 5 significant figures. 1 to the right is 5 more, so I round this up, and that'd be 394.82 to 5 significant figures. Okay? So, if I move on to this number here, then remember I'm working my way in from the left-hand side until I hit the first non-zero value. And so here it is the 8. And so this is the first significant figure position. Then that's the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. So you'll notice the first significant figure position here was in the hundredths column, but here it is the hundredths column. So where that first significant position comes in will be different depending on the number you look at. And that's why people sometimes find it confusing. So if I was to round this to one significant figure, this is the first significant figure position. So I look one to the right, and so that's more than 5. That's 5 more, I should say. And so I round this up to 0.09. So this looks like me rounding it to 2 decimal places, okay? So rounding that number to 2 decimal places is essentially the same as rounding it to one significant figure in this situation, with this number. To 2 significant figures, here's the second significant figure position. To the right is less than 5, so this would be 0.086. to 2 significant figures. To 3 significant figures, the one to the right is 5 or more, so I round this up to 0.0865. So 0.0865 to 3 significant figures. To 4 significant figures, number to the right is less than 5, so it's 0.08645. And then to 5 significant figures, the number to the right is less than 5, so it would be 0.086453. Okay, so this is the thing, right, with rounding to significant figures. The significant figure placement is different depending on which number you're looking at. Now, that shouldn't be too difficult to get your head around, because all you need to do is look at each number individually and then go from the left-hand side to the right-hand side. And the first significant figure position, as I said, is the first non-zero number you come across.